What's up, y'all? This is Henny. A lot of y'all been asking for this, so today I got it for you, man. I'm just trying to keep the consistency rolling. Today I want to talk about what's on my iPad 2020. As you know, I use the iPad every day, all day as my main computer. So, hey, it's only right to show you guys exactly what apps I'm using and, which ones are really doing it for me, getting the job done this year, and which ones I'm not using as much. So, hey, without further ado, you know how we do. Let's get into it. Let's go!
The business.
All right, so here is my iPad 2020. I see a lot of people out there that have the clean screen going on, right? The clean desktop type vibe. I just have too many apps to try to figure out how to have that cool look. But it's a dope look, don't get me wrong. Now, if you look here, I have things kind of just grouped into folders. That's just kind of how I do it. And for the most part, when I'm looking for something, I just swipe down and type it in. That's just kind of how I live, and that's how I rock with what what apps I'm using, unless they're on the dock right here, which ones I'm using the most. So, let's go and start with the dock. So starting from the left to the right, of course, I got the general settings tab. I use Files all the time, and Files has been working. It seems like the Files app is getting better through updates. I'm not sure, but I know that these files that you're watching right here, they had problems importing at the beginning of when iOS 13 hit. So like these 4K 10-bit files, they're importing fine. I have no issues. I'm not having a lot of errors, and I like that a lot. So yeah, I use the regular Mail app, regular Notes app, Safari, of course YouTube, LumaFusion, which I edit all of these videos on, and then for some of you who don't know, I use an app called Audio Share all the time. Now, this is an app, I've talked about it time and time again. It just is an app that, has all my tracks, all my beats, all my loops, all my sounds, drum samples, sound effects. And what's awesome about this app is you not only can record directly in here and make your own, say, for instance, you wanted to record a podcast or something like that. It has a mic, plus you can do 3 effects, and it'll record directly within this app. But also, if you need to do some trimming, right, there's the tools down here. You can normalize, trim, fade, convert to different formats. You can send to SoundCloud, email, you can copy it, or you can send it to another app. Any file that you have up here, even the zip files, you can move them around. So I love Audio Share, and I use it every day. Now, the other things that are on my dock are my music folder, my entertainment folder, my social folder, and all my Google apps, because I use a lot of Google apps. So, yeah, that's basically my dock and how I have it set up. I don't have as many widgets over here on the side panel. I usually just have the weather, my batteries, my series suggestions, my appointments, and some news. So, that's kind of how I have that set up. I just don't use the widgets. I don't know, something about the widgets I get into, but I don't know. I don't use it all that often. Really, to be honest, I use the Notes app for almost everything when I need to type something out, whether it's typing up documents, typing up notes, just any, the list that we share, me and my wife, with groceries, anything. We've just gotten to the routine of always using the Notes app for everything when it comes to me writing things down. And I don't know, I have Word, I have Google Docs, and when people send me things left and right, I'll use those apps. But when I need to start something fresh, I'm usually just using the Notes app. I also use an app called Tiny Invoice. That's how I do all my invoicing. I will pull that up, but I got to keep some things private. I use TurboTax. I've been using that on this iPad. It works very well. I use the Sign Now a lot to sign documents. And Notability. My brother put me onto the app called Notability, And, we take a lot of notes when we're in sessions and we write all the things down, right? We'll have meetings. We'll talk about, things that's going on. When I'm at the studio or I'm teaching in class, we'll use Notability to not only take notes and have our lectures and things like that, but also use it as a whiteboard, using an Apple TV on the screen in the studio to be able to write down those notes. But I also like Notability because you can also do that and record audio at the same time. So at any given point when you need to pull up the audio version, you can type and tap next to whatever you wrote, and you can hear what we talked about during that part of the writing session in Notability. So those are some of my productivity apps that I use consistently. And yeah, that's just how I do that. So if y'all don't know, I'm a big fan of the app Darkroom. And I use this all day long. I use this to edit my thumbnails, to edit the pictures, when I'm, family pictures, all of that. And I love the fact that it's intuitive. You can edit video in this as well, right? I could take a video like this and still test out different colors. And if I'm putting something to, say, for instance, Instagram, or putting something to another social media site like that, I can edit the video real quick, color grade the video inside Darkroom, and do all my favorite edits the same way. So I love Darkroom. I love the fact that it works across all my platforms, and I don't really have to have a subscription. I've had this app for a while. I do know that they have a subscription model now, but I've had this app for years, and it works tremendously well for me for editing video, editing my pics, editing thumbnails, and just posting things to social. So Procreate, right? I don't draw that often, but I do use Procreate to, if I want to write something on the screen, like say for instance, let's do something new, screen size. I will just take the background color off, and I can use the pencil. I've talked about this before, but if I want to animate something on my screen, on my video, I use Procreate all the time. So I just swipe down, hit the screen record button. I'll tell you why in a second. If I wanted to do a moving title saying what's on my iPad 2020, I'll write it out when it's screen recording. What's on my iPad 2020. Boom. And then I will save that screen record, and I'll do it like that. The only reason I don't use what they call is the export time-lapse feature in Procreate is it goes so fast, you can't really manipulate it as well as you need to. I actually like to actually do screen record, write it out, and it saves as a video file, and then I import that into LumaFusion, do all my little settings, and boom, I have it done. So that's Procreate. I use that a lot as well. I was using Visco a lot for editing pics and all that, but now I don't. But as you can see, there's a lot of apps that I try out and test out and keep on my iPad, like Infinity Photo. I'm not a Photoshop guy. I don't really have those skills like that, but I will dibble and dabble. I can use that to edit, some pics or whatever. If I need to do some layering, other things, and make a graphic, I use Affinity Photo for that. Some of these other apps I don't use as much. A lot of these apps I've just had on my iPad and I really need to probably declutter. Say for instance, the stuff that's in my utilities. Sometimes I just don't know where to put them, but I just needed to put them in some type of box. You know what I'm talking about when you're trying to clean and you just need to put some away. So I'll have stuff like that. I check UPS and Bank of America and stuff like that, and I put it all in utilities. That's what that is. My iOS apps, hey, it's my iOS apps. A lot of stuff I just didn't want to have on the desktop. And so, they're right here in my iOS folder. And if I really need to find something, like I said before, I'll just go and search it. My music, I have Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube Music. I use YouTube, even BeatStars, the BeatStars app. I'm using Apple Music or YouTube Music to get my music. So that's how I get down with my music these days. And shopping's been pretty big the last few months, trying not to overdo it, but Yeah, Amazon, Apple's are Target, Prime Now, BH Photo, Uniqlo, IKEA, Nordstrom, Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot. You know what it is. I do a lot of shopping from my iPad. Too much shopping. Let's keep that there. Now with games, I'm not a big gamer. My son's a big gamer. So we have the Nintendo Switch Online for him, just to be able to make sure that I know what he's got going on. Parental controls, and then just a few like family games that you could play, like House Party, with that, and then a game called for the Culture. Two apps that I've been using since summer school with the kids is Google Classroom and Skillshare. I should have made this video sponsored by Skillshare, but I'm not doing that right now. I don't even say it like that. But yeah, I've been using Skillshare and I've been using Google Classroom to help my kids with different skills. Like right now, my son's getting into cartooning and really learning how to color better and Procreate. So that's part of his curriculum this week and the last few weeks. And we just use Google Classroom to put in their assignments. We can grade them. And my wife does his workbook stuff on math, reading, history, social studies, science, all of those. And we just put our, stuff in there, and it seems to be working out. Being parents, having curriculum during summer, not knowing exactly what's going to go on in the fall for these kids, we're praying things get better. So those are what's on my on my desktop. Now let's dive into my most used apps, my music apps, and my entertainment apps. Of course, big Netflix guy, but also, watch a lot of Prime Video. As you can see, I haven't been watching a lot of Hulu on this device because, like I said in the last video, I watch a lot of stuff on this guy. Fox, Showtime, HBO, Star, CNN, y'all know what it is. Try to entertain myself as much as possible. And these are all the apps that I watch content on. So, from my social tab, I don't really use a lot of social media on this device. I try to stay as focused as possible when I'm actually wanting to get work done. So, you can see for the most part, most of my notifications is turned off. I don't use text messages on this, nor do I do FaceTime too much on this device because a lot of times I want to be very focused, whether I'm doing music, doing filming, editing, whatever I'm doing, I want to stay laser focused in on what I'm doing. So I've turned all of those off. But if I do want to peruse social, I'll either use Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. So what I did for Instagram is I took the web version and I made it into its own like icon app, just so that I could have full screen when I want to, go through Instagram on this device, since who knows why Instagram will not make an iPad version. I do not understand. Facebook, Hangouts, Twitter. That's basically all I got going on through social on this device. Of course, all my Google apps, whether it's YouTube Studio, Google Photos, Google Wi-Fi, Google Home. I have a full kitted out home with Google products. Roaming around this house, man, trying to keep this thing all the way together in here. And last but not least, let's talk about the apps that I use for music. Now, I have a ton of apps, and a lot of them I try and play around with. Some are, effects and, different plugins. Some are actually DAWs. Some are actually cool little instruments. But I'll swipe over slowly if you want to pause and see exactly what I'm using. So, there's one page, another page. Hey, man, it's a lot of different little apps that I'm using for music. But, let me go into one of the newest ones, like Chompler from my homies from MSX Audio. So hard to say that name, but those are the homies. Basically, this is an amazing app. If you don't know who MSX Audio is, it's a friend of mine, my man M Simp. He created a company where they take, they do a lot of sample-based loop products, sounds, just a lot of great stuff for you to be able to purchase from their website to kind of get your creativity going, brewing, and vibing. And they've been doing it for years. A lot of sample packs, a lot of loop packs. And now they brought it into an app called Chompler. And Chompler is an easy way for you to chomp up the samples, chop up your sounds. And it really reminds me of my old school ASR 10, the way, it's from poly to chromatic, all, start, end, attack, release, tune, volume, all of these things can be done by this data knob, right? And then on the side, you got your effects with lo-fi and drive and echo and verb. And it just is a very simple app that you can use as an AUV3 plugin to use some samples. Now, they said they're coming up with an update to be able for you to import your own sounds, but for now, they have an amazing store where you can check out all, a lot of their loops and products that they have, and a lot of them are very cheap. So check that out. That's Chompler. And it's highly recommended. And of course, so I've been using Beatmaker 3 for years, still use it, just not as much anymore. Cubasis 3 is my main DAW. Blocks Wave, I've been talking about that for years. Great way for me to get my ideas started or record some ideas with other musicians. Koala, I love Koala for my drums, getting my drums and my sequencing. And man, this is a really, really fun app. For drums and drum programming and sampling. Of course, the Korg apps, Model D, Model 15, AUM is another good one. Man, Rovin Scov 275, that's my go-to for piano. This House Rhodes Mark 1, it's coming soon. Even Audio Tune, basically like Auto-Tune for iOS devices, and it works extremely well. Made in conjunction with the homies over there, Audio Kit. So, man, go definitely check out Audio Tune. That's another cool one. Of course, FM player for my FM player needs. Man, like I said, I have a ton of music apps. And I've been using this device for the last year or so to be able to really get down and do some awesome things. Now, that's basically it. That is what's on my iPad 2020. A lot of these apps are very similar on my iPhone and even on my iPad Mini 5. But I'll tell you, man, for anybody who's trying to figure out exactly what they can do on an iPad, on an iOS device, you should really dive in. Next week we got WWDC, and they're definitely going to be bringing out the iOS 14, and hopefully it just makes this even better. So, man, if you have any questions about any of these apps, hit me down in the comments below. Of course, I can deep dive in a little bit more of these if everybody keeps asking about a specific app. But for the most part, I've talked about a lot of these apps that I use all the time in different videos. So don't be, feel free to check out the other videos on my channel and see if you can maybe get some ideas from there. And last but not least, tomorrow is Juneteenth, and it's also Father's Day weekend. So go check out my website, hennythebusiness.com. I'm going to just put everything on sale for 50% off. And if you've ever wanted to try out one of my sample packs or one of my filters, or even do one of these one-on-one sessions, hit me up and, support your boy. If not, just cash app. No, I'm just messing with you. But, yeah, hey, man, all is well. And I'm just trying to get back in the routine, trying to get back in the swing of things. And I hope everybody is doing well. So I will talk to y'all in the next one. Hope you guys have a safe and fun weekend and a great Father's Day to all the fathers out there who are holding it down. Talk to you next time. Hit 'em out!